person, not the other half of you, but as a solid whole. And so this idea that attraction requires a kind of distance, that even desire requires a crossing over, she says. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because how can we incorporate that into our own relationships? How can we create space between us and the ones we love so that we can reclaim that crossing over, so that we can see them as that self-sustaining entity and fully appreciate them as the fully rounded, complete being that they are?
In China, air pollution is a major problem, filling cities with enough smog to hamper visibility and require face masks. And on bad days, the pollution can even be seen from space. In January 2013, a particularly thick layer of haze smothered eastern China. As seen in these before and after photos from NASA's Terra satellite, the smog blotted out the features of capital city Beijing and neighboring Tianjin. When this image was snapped, Beijing had an air quality index of 341. Levels above 300 are dangerous to all humans, even healthy adults.
And what does it mean? So half the jobs that we have today will no longer exist. Worse yet, the Institute for the Future put out statistics that indicate that 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 don't exist yet. And that means that we need to be very attuned to the fact to embrace the changes that are taking place.
And which you can't do. Whereas liberals begin with the individual and an individual with its rights in order to think about what a society can and cannot do to the individual. So those are two different views of human nature and the nature of human society, as opposed to reactionaries and revolutionaries who are focused on the nature of history instead.
And then we'll go into the media and playroom, a cozy place to make memories together. Playrooms and kids' corners might induce images of messy piles of germ-covered toys or a room in your home that you always hide by shutting the door when anyone comes to visit. But I'm here to hopefully help you give a new perspective on the playroom.
Kind of existence we can have if we honor inevitable death of self, appreciate the privilege of life, and marvel at what comes next. Simple awareness is where it begins. Thank you for listening.
Sort of level of translation again. What I find really interesting is that it kind of correlates with the way that we can approach your practice in a way. To think about how in your films and collaborations with various artists, you are looking at the traces of sound, and particularly electronic sound that's been processed through different mediums, translated into an image, perhaps, or a physical being, but also then translated back into sound, and what we might infer from that kind of form of translation and that form of communication.
We have to slash this and slash that and cut back education and cut back research, things that will make our economy stronger, cut back infrastructure. And I think that's counterproductive. It's weakening our economy. But the point I make in this paper is it would be easy for us to raise the requisite revenue.
Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge the intersectionality that is inherent whenever you're talking about people who've been harmed by sexual violence. In the United States, I think too often there's this, you watch some stupid ABC after-school special or Hallmark movie, and it's always the blonde, skinny cheerleader, right? And that just, the narrative has not broadened to be real, which is that women of color face so much more sexual violence than white women.
Women do. So it was really important that I was did this kind of lone thing for that first one, but then I was like, you know what, screw that. I'm not gonna let people's biases, inhibit really good work. And I actually, when I'm working with other people, I think a lot of new and interesting things kind of come out of that. So I want to continue that, different people bring different things to the table, of course.
That was the initial seed of this idea years ago, just for something more exciting than the idea of here is the art and it's finished and there's the audience and they go and absorb it and the performers are really focused on it. I wanted it to be a bit more like real life.
I will also demonstrate more advanced and elite skills. Initiate your twist with your feet, then hips, then shoulders. No matter what skill you execute off the table, it's really important to block first, rise, and then twist.
Longer to heal. You injure, you twist your ankle, it might take you a couple weeks before it's feeling, kind of like almost as good as new. With a nervous system, that can be years, and literally years and years of you needing to do the right thing. So here are some things that I did nutritionally that were very impactful, especially when I was in medical school, going through a chelation process.
What happens after that? What do you do after that to broaden the base?
Here's what I think is very, very important is what we do after that is what we have tried to do in the company over 162 years. We continue to reinvent ourselves. We shake up the status quo, and we innovate. And we go back to the historical positioning of the card and the company, which is that we're going to be more involved in services.
And the most powerful way that I've experienced this is through meditation. And whatever that word might mean to you, taking time for yourself without external input is what allows your brain to go to work and to begin to make unique sense out of all this activity that you've been up to.
Like, I remember we loved the films when we were kids. There's a picture of me and my sister, if I can find it, I'll insert it on the screen, of the two of us playing on, we had a PlayStation 1 for, I think, our birthday from our uncle, and the first game that we played on it was The Philosopher's Stone. And it's just so funny. There's a picture of like tiny us both facing the TV playing The Philosopher's Stone on PS1. I mean,
seeking better questions, right? And so in the age of the internet, where any query, where any piece of data, knowledge, or insight is a Google search away, you come to wonder, are we living in a world where wonder is expressed more intensely because any time I wonder about something, I can look up the answer? Or is the immediacy with which the answer is available actually dulling us into a state where we rarely experience the rapture of discovery, the rapture of the search, right? Not just the destination, but the journey expressed as the labor, the search, the curiosity seeking to satiate itself.
Go ahead and bend a section of the line to see if the material is still pliable, and visually inspect them for cracks. If the fuel line seems questionable, it would be a good idea to replace them.
We have people that are paid to do this work from the government, the universities, and a lot of volunteers. For instance, the SCORE organization is a group of volunteers that support small businesses.
We were able to catch a garment factory. She has to process Hanes underwear. She clips loose threads off 150 pairs per hour. She's paid 53 cents a day for her efforts. Are we doing something wrong by buying the products made with her labor? I'm Benjamin Powell. I direct the Free Market Institute at Texas Tech University, where I'm also an economics professor. I've spent over a decade studying sweatshops and child labor in poorer countries around the world.
Going to literally select and instruct new genes, and those genes may be the ones that create more significant and faster changes in the body. I mean, how do you explain a person in one meditation that's blind that comes out as now seeing?
Found that better life elusive. Originally, they tried to settle in Langston, Oklahoma, but were run off by racist whites before landing in Tulsa. Despite the city's strict Jim Crow-style segregation laws, Greenwood's mostly black residents played an integral part in building up their neighborhood. In fact, being isolated from their hostile white neighbors may have actually helped them build Greenwood into a prosperous district that civil rights activist and author Booker T. Washington nicknamed Black Wall Street. The state of Oklahoma, and Tulsa in particular, had done well financially, largely due to a bustling oil industry that had caused a population boom around the turn of the century and made many fortunes. That